along the journey, I came to know and understand there's a power for good in the universe, and you can use it. I've come to know and understand and believe that there is only one power. There is a presence that is everywhere and in all things. There is a creative energy that has always been and will always be. There is an intelligence which is all-knowing. There is a presence that is capable of all things. This intelligence, this power, this presence, this creative energy, I call it God. And I've come to know and understand that God is the only power there is, that God is right where I am, for there could never be any separation from the oneness, the allness that is God. And what is true for me is true for all, for we are all one in this life called God. This divine perfect power, this creative intelligence which is ever creating divinely and perfectly out of itself and like itself by simply self-knowing, we co-create with Spirit as a result of our most prevalent thoughts. Right here and right now as I speak my word, I know that it is God that speaks through me and as me. I speak my word for this East Bay Church of Religious Science public service for this day, February 9th, 2020. Accepting, declaring, knowing, and believing that our service is guided and directed by God Almighty. Our service is surrounded by God's infinite love, peace, compassion, and joyous celebration follows all that takes place here. I know that this is a divine, perfect God expression where we're encouraged to learn, to grow, to fellowship, to know the truth that God is all there is. So I'm blessing our ministers, our ministries, our congregants, our volunteers. I'm blessing all of the wonderful ways that God continues to show up. I'm even blessing the wind this day, for the wind for me represents a metaphor of clearing away what no longer serves. For when we remove what is unlike God, all that is left is divine, perfect love and peace and compassion and joy and harmony. I know that our service takes place in a consciousness of divine, perfect wholeness, completion, oneness. So I just give thanks for this opportunity to stand forth as a servant of God. I give thanks for my opportunity to speak and know the Word. The Word is God. God is all there is. With God, all things are possible. God and I are one. So I just give thanks for all of the wonderful ways that God continues to show up. I release this word into the creative aspect of God known as the universal law of mind, knowing it is complete. I let go, I surrender, knowing that God's will is being done divinely, perfectly, right here, right now, and always. I invite the congregants to join me in celebrating and accepting this word as being the truth as we say no together, Ashe.
Ashe.
Amen.
Amen.
And so it is.
And so it is. Sat Tat Saviturvareyam Bhargo Devasya Mani Diyo Yona Prachodayat Om Bhurvasat Tasaviturvareyam Bhargo Devasya Mani Diyo Yona Prachodayat Om.
Amen.
Good morning. Good morning. Here at East Bay Church of Religious Science, we believe in prayer. If there is something that is challenging you or you have a concern, we invite you to not leave here with it. We invite you to see one of our licensed practitioners. The practitioners can typically be identified by the purple stoles that we wear. We invite you to connect with one of our practitioners after this service and engage in prayer in our prayer room, which is at the front of the building next to the fellowship area. As an alternative, we invite you to fill out a prayer request form. These forms are in the back of the sanctuary. Your prayers are placed in our prayer box, and at the end of the service, the minister blesses and prays over those prayers. And for the next 30 days, one of our licensed practitioners prays for your prayer requests. So again, we invite you, don't leave here with a problem, a concern, or a challenge. Turn it over to God in prayer.
Amen.
Prayer works.
Yes.
Ask me how I know.
Amen.
The Declaration of Principles are printed on laminated forms underneath your chairs. If you could retrieve the Declaration of Principles. These Declaration of Principles were created by Science of Mind founder Ernest Holmes in 1927. Today, in churches, centers, study groups around the world, like-minded people are joining together and reciting these Declaration of Principles. There's a tremendous synergy that is created when like-minded people come together in setting forth an intention or saying what it is that they declare and believe. So if these words have meaning for you, we invite you to rise and join us in reciting our Declaration of Principles together. And remember, the words that we use are important, but more importantly than the words, it's the feeling behind the words.
Amen.
Together, what we believe. We believe in God, the living Spirit Almighty, one indestructible, absolute, and self-existent cause. This one manifests itself in and through all creation, but is not absorbed by its creation. The manifest universe is the body of God. It is the logical and necessary outcome of the infinite self-knowingness of God. We believe in the individualization of the Spirit in us, and that all people are individualizations of the one Spirit. We believe in the eternality, the immortality, and the continuity of the individual soul forever and ever expanding. We believe that heaven is within us and that we experience it to the degree that we become conscious of it. We believe the ultimate goal of life to be a complete freedom from all discord of every nature, and that this goal is sure to be attained by all. We believe in the unity of all life, and that the highest God and the innermost God is one God. We believe that God is personal to all who feel this indwelling presence. We believe in direct revelation of truth through our intuitive and spiritual nature, and that anyone may become a revealer of truth who lives in close contact with the indwelling God. We believe that the universal Spirit, which is God, operates through a universal mind, which is the law of God, and that we are surrounded by this creative mind, which receives the direct impress of our thought and acts upon it. We believe in the healing of the sick through the power of this mind. We believe in the control of conditions through the power of this mind. We believe in eternal goodness, the eternal loving kindness, and the eternal givingness of life to all. We believe in our own soul, our own spirit, and our own destiny. For we understand that the life of all is God, and so it is. You may be seated. Thank you.
Thank you, Richard. Good morning. Good morning. I'm Reverend Celeste Frazier. Hey, Leo. Good to see y'all here today. 3 things I want to point out from the Declaration of Principles. The first one is that we believe that heaven is within us and that we experience it to the degree that we become conscious of it. Keep being conscious of it. We're going to talk more about that later. The second thing is we believe that the ultimate goal of life is a complete freedom from all discord of every nature, and that this goal is sure to be attained by all. That is very key. Freedom from discord. It didn't come to stay, it came to pass. Amen. And the third thing that I want to point out is we believe in the control of conditions through the power of this mind. Amen. The power is not outside of us. So we're going to be with that in a little bit. Good to see some of y'all I haven't seen for a little bit. Good to see you. All right, so first-time visitors. What I want you to know, if you don't already know this about East Bay, is that we look at our diversity as our strength. And for those who have any kind of anxiousness or anxiety or anything around different, we're about oneness here. So your gender, your race, your color, your creed, your no creed, it has no bearing on our unconditional love. So please make yourself at home and feel comfortable. My pronouns are she, her, and hers. And I invite you to invite anyone that you introduce yourself to give them your pronouns of your choice. And so for the hearing impaired or deaf, my name is Celeste. Frazier. Welcome to East Bay Church. So, if this is your first time at East Bay, please stand so that we may confer a blessing upon you. Yes, 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 yes. Please remain standing. Please remain standing so the congregation can confer a blessing upon you as they repeat after me. Welcome to the East Bay Church of Religious Science.
Welcome to the East Bay Church of Religious Science.
We know who you are.
We know who you are.
You are a unique individualization of love, intelligence, and beauty. You are a special way that God is happening on this planet.
You are a special way that God is happening on this planet.
We thank God for you.
We thank God for you.
Welcome to the East Bay Church of Religious Science.
Welcome to the East Bay Church of Religious Science.
Please take your seats with honor. Let that rose remind you of your own inner beauty. Inside of that packet is a form. We would really appreciate it if you would fill it out so we could stay in touch with you, let you know about the magnificent offerings that we have here at East Bay from time to time. We're in the middle of our season for nonviolence, and we're in the middle of our Black History Month. We have lots of programs and classes and many different ways to edify and lift your life, and we want you to be a part of that. We're here to be love and pass it on. So for the rest of us, I invite you to reach for someone's heart, touch their hand, give them a hug, but at least a smile. All right. Listen. All right. Hey there. How you doing? Are you going to make the announcement?
No.
Okay.
I wanted to give the person
Reach out and touch somebody's hand. Make this world a better place if you can. Reach out and touch somebody's hand. Make this world a better place if you can. Reach out and touch somebody's hand. Make this world a better place if you can. Reach out and touch somebody's hand. Make this world a better place. Yes, you can. Reach out and touch somebody's hand. Make this world a better place. Yes, we can. Reach out and touch somebody's hand. Make this world a better place. Yes, you can. Reach out and touch somebody's hand. Make this world a better place. Yes, you can. Reach out and touch somebody's hand. Make this world a better place. Yes, you can. Reach out and touch somebody's hand. Make this world a better place. Yes, you can. Reach out and touch somebody's hand. Make this world a better place. Yes, you can. Reach out and touch somebody's hand. Make this world a better place. Yes, you can. Reach out and touch somebody's hand. Make this world a better place. Yes, you can. Yeah.
As we return to our seats, we thank you for your love and your participation. And now it's time for our community opportunities.
I guess nobody's coming. Okay. Good morning, East Bay. Good morning. I'm excited to have the surprise and delight to provide you with your community opportunities today, because I'll take any opportunity to get up and greet you all. Amen.
Well, it's not my week, so I'm trying to do my best here to move us along. Is there something you'd like to tell me this way? I'm going to say, why don't you just go ahead? Do you want, did Highland give you a change for the Black History Month? It's not my week, so I don't have anything, but you did have that. You want me to grab that from you? No, I'll get it in a minute. Here, go ahead and start with this one. This one.
All right. Well, we have some first-time visitors today, and we are so excited that you are here. We just want to make sure that you do stop by the fellowship hall to get your free CD of today's service. If you will, please turn in your completed form. When you go to the membership table, it is an opportunity for us to just continue to reach out to you, tell you all of the wonderful, amazing things that are happening here at East Bay, and to check in with you from time to time to see if there's something you could need from us. So please do that, and again, welcome, and thank you for choosing East Bay. We know you had many opportunities along your ride here to stop, and we're just grateful and appreciative that you decided to come to East Bay today. Gracious giving. If you have not taken an opportunity to give, or your heart is just pouring with something that's telling you that you need to give more, please do text 855-979-7388 to tithe, and you can do that right now. Then type in the message "give," then just follow the prompts. You can also pay your tithes at the kiosk, or download the Give Plus app to your iPhone or to any phone. Right? Midday meditation. For any of you who, like me, need just a little bit of uplifting, a little pep in the middle of the week, join us on Tuesdays through Fridays for meditation at 12:30 to 1 for a midday respite. Just take a break from the grind, and you'll be glad you did. Yes. Membership updates, friends. We need your information for our records. As many of you know, it is important for East Bay to keep in contact with you. We are trying to do our best to make sure that we have information so that we can get information to you, and we also want to be able to get information from you. There is that most important season that is upon us called tax season, and we want to make sure that you're able to tell Uncle Sam how much you have been a blessing to your community here at East Bay. So please, if you have not taken an opportunity to check in and make sure we have your correct information at the kiosk or at the information table, please do so today so that we can make sure our records are up to date. And remember, if you have a suggestion, there's a suggestion box in the front of the window facing Telegraph Street in the fellowship hall. We welcome all ideas, and we also welcome all working hands. So if you've got a great idea and you're able to bring that idea to us, and you're able to help us move that idea that will enrich our community, please do so. Our gratitude tree is ready for you. Donate any amount of money to it, and your name will be on the wall. The first batch of leaves will be here soon. Make sure your name is part of East Bay. Sound Healing with Reverend Michelle Jordan. Sound Healing with Queen Michelle, normally scheduled for the second Tuesday of the month, is moved for this month, only to the third Tuesday, February 18th. And it'll be here in the sanctuary starting at 7 p.m. So, yes, be here and be uplifted. Our Beacon of Light Prison Ministry, do you have a loved one who is affected by incarceration? If so, sorry folks, hold on a second here. If so, get comfort with the Beacon of Light Ministry. This ministry is a way to contribute to the healing and to bring some light and awareness to those who are experiencing incarceration and the families and friends of those. This ministry meets Wednesdays, February 12th, from 4 to 5 p.m. in the Fellowship Hall. And don't forget our Latino ministry. The Latino... Ah! Okay. So who knows that the Latino ministry is hosting a dance at East Bay right in this room next Friday? Who knows? Who knows? Okay, looks like a few people haven't heard, so let us tell you a little bit more about it. It's going to be a wonderful night of love, friendship, and unity right here at East Bay. It's a Valentine's Day dinner dance. You'll have your choice of a scrumptious salmon, chicken, or vegetarian meal you select at the time you purchase your ticket. We'll have live salsa music. Gabrielle will be giving lessons. And Maida. It's going to be a wonderful time. If you don't have plans already, come and join us. Okay, so who's going to be here? Come on. Come on. So what do you think?
Yeah. Well, I think we're going to do it, right? So you guys can help us to do it, right?
We need the tickets purchased today, however. The tickets are $50. There's a table. It's the one with the red tablecloth. Now, okay, so who's going to be here? Ooh. Come on, let's hear it. We need a few more. Who's going to be here? Get your tickets, and you will arrive here at 5:30. Between 5:30 and 6, we serve dinner at 6 because it's not going to be a buffet or any old little thing slapped on a plate. We're fixing the plates and serving them to you. It's scrumptious dessert, a fake champagne toast. It's going to be fabulous. So please come tell your friends. There's a tablecloth that's red on one of the tables. That's where you come see us today, get your tickets, and select your dinner entree. So thank you. All right, just an update. Evidently there are trees down because of the wind on the 580. So I just want you all to just say some gratitude for all of those who are on their way to church, who did it, who are trying to make it here, and for those who avoided any hazards on the road, and for those who are still out there. Just send some good vibrations. So some of our members had a tough time getting here today. Update from the Board of Trustees. Impact of AB 5. How many of you use or drive for Lyft or Uber? Okay. Anyone order groceries using Instacart or dinner delivered by Caviar or Grubhub? If so, you are familiar with the gig economy. The state recently enacted a law to address the gig economy. It's known as AB 5. You may have heard of it. What you may not know is that this law, as written, is really broad and impacts our church. Ask how? Well, under the law, our musicians must be classified as employees instead of independent contractors. This new classification extends to our paid speakers, class instructors, and teaching assistants. All now have to sign employee agreements, and the church must now comply with a wide range of employment-related regulations like workers' compensation, payroll taxes, and unemployment. As you can imagine, this law has increased our staffing expenses significantly. We really have no choice. Non-compliance could result in costly penalties from $5,000 to $25,000 per violation. So, the board met with our musicians, and some have chosen not to become employees. We continue to monitor the situation and will keep you abreast of any new developments. Member contributions. 2019 contribution statements were mailed last month. If you did not receive one, then we do not have your current email address. Please fill out a database form and leave it at the information table. If you have a question about your statement, please see a member of the finance ministry. Do we have any members of the finance ministry that can raise their hand right now? All right, Arlene. Great. Thank you. And finally, let's get lifted. This is Black History Month. Yes! And we are having a celebration. East Bay would like to invite you to attend and participate in this year's 2020 annual Black History Month celebration. It will be held on Saturday, February 29th from 4:30 to 7:30 here at East Bay. The keynote speaker is Dr. Oba Tashaka, author, international lecturer, and professor emeritus of African American Studies at my alma mater, San Francisco State University. After the celebration, we will have a collective potluck feast. After the celebration, we will have a collective potluck feast. Yes. We still need volunteers to help us with food distribution, decorations, ushering and setup, cleanup, and day of event. Please stop by the Black History table located in the front of the church and sign up to help. Finally, you can make a food contribution on the day of the event or a monetary donation for the celebration at the Black History table or at the kiosk in the foyer. More details will be provided in the coming weeks. We look forward to seeing you at this year's Black History Month celebration. And thank you.
Good morning, East Bay. I'm Harriet Johnson, and I'm one of your board members. And I'm on the Season for Nonviolence team. And this morning I want to tell you about a workshop that's coming up. But first I want to ask, how many of you ever get angry? And how many of you are masters at handling your anger? Oh, a few are. Yay. Well, as part of the Season for Nonviolence, Karen Patel is going to have a workshop called Transforming Anger, how to go from putting up to powering up. And this will be on Saturday, February 22nd from 2 to 4 p.m. It'll be right here at East Bay in the prayer room. And so we want you to come out and join us and learn how to handle our anger in a transformative way that allows results, allows us to get through it and be better at being who we came here to be. So thank you for listening.
Amen.
Thank you, Harriet. Here's my glasses. I just wanted to tell you what the value of today is for the Season for Nonviolence. It is contemplation. What we plant in the soil of contemplation, we shall reap in the harvest of action. Yeah. And now, Usher, if you would turn down the lights over here, we're going to do a short presentation for Black History Month. Thank you so much to our audio-video team. Sure.
Here's a little-known Black history science of mind.
I guess I was trying to see if it was covered, like why nothing was projecting.
Oh. Here's a little-known Black History Science of Mind fact. Jamaican-born Marcus Mosiah Garvey Jr. is well known as a businessman, journalist, Pan-Africanist, and powerful orator of the early 1900s. As such, he attracted thousands of followers to his Black nationalist movement that became known as Garveyism. As founder of the Universal Negro Improvement Association, Garvey encouraged African Americans to be proud of their race and promoted cultural identity through his Back to Africa campaign. But did you know that Garvey was also a follower of the New Thought movement, as well as a student of the ideas and philosophies of religious science? In fact, Garvey studied the same New Thought philosophers as religious science founder Ernest Holmes and his brother Fenwick, and often quoted their teachings. He also was inspired by Divine Science co-founder Nona Brooks. Even the philosophy of transcendentalism, led by writer Ralph Waldo Emerson, resonated with Garvey. He excelled in merging racial philosophical concepts and science of mind principles while addressing the Black condition in America. The strong philosophical beliefs in self-mastery, determination, and willpower that Garvey preached to Black people aligned perfectly with the newly emerging teachings of science of mind. In many of Garvey's speeches and writings, he often urged his followers to get a scientific knowledge of religion. His message was clear: liberate the minds of men, and ultimately you will liberate the bodies of men. Another instrumental Jamaican in Science of Mind is Dr. Elma Lumsden, who founded the Temple of Light Church of Religious Science in Kingston, Jamaica in 1981. An engaging speaker and master teacher, Dr. Elma is also known for her simple yet dynamic words of wisdom, such as, until you can walk on water, take a boat, and life is a school and we're not on holiday. Due to her leadership and diligence, Lumsden
Sound got ahead of the video.
We can hear you. Please welcome our music ministry.
Here we go.
This is the day that the Lord has made. We came to praise the Lord. This is the day that the Lord has made. We came to praise the Lord. We're gonna have a good time. We're gonna have a good time. We came to praise the Lord. We came to praise the Lord. We're gonna sing hallelujah. We're gonna shout troubles over. We're gonna sing hallelujah. We're gonna shout troubles over. Come on and let's have a good time in the Lord. In the Lord. Come on and let's have a good time in the Lord. In the Lord.
Hallelujah.
Yes. We declare the power in this place.
Yes.
I say we declare the glory in this place.
Yes, we do.
Oh, we declare a healing in this place.
Yes.
We declare victory in this place.
Ba-dum-bum. Ba-dum-bum. Ba-dum-bum.
I declare, ba-da-da-da.
Ba-dum-bum.
Ba-da-da-da. I declare, ba-da-da-da.
Ba-dum-bum.
Ba-da-da-da. I declare, ba-da-da-da.
Ba-dum-bum.
I declare, ba-da-da-da.
Ba-dum-bum.
I declare, ba-da-da-da.
Ba-dum-bum.
I declare,
declare the power in this place. Oh, I declare the power in this place. Declare the power. Declare the power. Declare the power in this place.
ba-da-da. I declare, ba-da-da-da. Ba-da-da-da. I declare,
Declare
the glory in this place.
Declare the glory in this place. Oh, I declare my glory in this place.
In this place, God declare the healing.
I declare, ba-da-da-da. Ba-da-da-da. I declare, ba-da-da-da. I declare, ba-da-da-da. I declare, ba-da-da-da.
Declare the victory in this place. I declare the victory in this place. Oh, I declare the victory. I declare the victory. I declare my victory in this place. My victory in this place. I declare my victory in this place.
In this and so it is.
That was good.
Can we take a breath? Can we take a breath? Can we take a breath? Can we take a breath?
Y'all pray for us before we even got up here.
Okay.
Because we need prayer.
All time, all day.
All day, every day.
1, 2, 3.
You ready?
Ready?
Let's start again.
1, 2, 3, 4. I've been up and down that road before. Know exactly where it's leading to. To a place you really don't want to go. Better ask somebody I know is true. Life is not hard when you live from the truth. But let me tell you something that I know is true. Life gets better
if we just believe.
And your heart gets better
if you just believe. Better.
Take a minute to look about yourself. Are you really where you want to be? Are you reaching for your higher self? Do you really want to be free? Believe what you say, that's how you receive. Please try to lie and get all your needs. Life gets better
if you just believe.
And your heart gets better
if you just believe.
And your life gets better
if you just believe.
And your heart gets better
if you just believe.
Life is not hard when you live from the truth. So put your pride aside and get all your needs. Life gets better
if you just believe.
Your heart
gets better if you just believe.
Your soul gets better
if you just believe.
Oh, I know
it gets better if you just believe.
Your heart
gets better if you just believe.
And your soul
gets better if you just believe.
That's the East Bay a cappella group. As Sherry and Fabiana, Boxanette, Paris, Michael, and Z.
And we brand new.
So it gets better if you just believe. How's your belief this morning, family? It's all right. There's a lot of challenges in this world, in this country right now, and sometimes it causes our belief to be shaken up a little bit. And so I'm here to tell you the good news. God's got it. Howard Thurman, in our Book of the Month, Meditations of the Heart, says, the quest of discovering the will of God must be pursued with great diligence. What does that mean? Sometimes we have an idea that pops into our head and we think it was God's idea. It wasn't necessarily God's idea. Sometimes we get these notions about what we want to do, but if it's not life affirming, we might want to make sure that it didn't come from the ego instead of from God. Yes? We might have some kind of an idea about what it is that God is wanting for us and what God is seeking to do through us. Thurman says a man, and I'm adding or woman or non-binary, wants to know that their life purposes and plans are floored by a structure that is more than they are, that is comprehensive, significant, and good. So what that means is everything that is your life purpose is already being supported by grace. Everything that is your divine plan is already being supported. It's floored with a structure that's more than you are. So it's already coming with its own support. And it's complete support. It's not half support. So in those moments when you think, well, is God dead? Then you have to know something greater. God can never die. Margaret? So what we understand is that there is a wonderful way for us to absolutely be with this idea of what God has for us. I've gotten a lot of things through visioning, and I don't understand why more people don't vision. It's something that I've committed to because it's transformative, but first and foremost, it's informative. And what I mean by that is we want ego to continue to run our lives, and we don't even know that we're not even in control. We think we are. But unless and until we are leaning into divine guidance, we don't have a real vision for our lives. We can have plans, but you know how that goes. If it didn't come from God, it's on sinking sand. When I came up with this vision, rising together with love, that wasn't a Celestism. That was a divine guidance. 2020 is 2020, 2 by 2, rising together with love. So that means that we partner with each other for mutual support. Can you identify one other person in this community that you're willing to stand with who know the truth about you when you forget? Yes. And if you don't have somebody that you can think of, raise your hand, and maybe somebody else is out here that'll be that person for you. Oh, y'all think I'm playing, huh? I'm so not, because it came up in visioning again yesterday when I was with the board. And I'm going to keep asking you until I start seeing hands. Because we're not meant to walk this path alone. It's important that we come together, and I'm going to say a whole lot more about that today. The way that we multiply the consciousness of love is by, first of all, being in an awareness of the presence of God and absolutely knowing that this presence is the presence that we walk with. And then it's also knowing that everybody that we meet on our journey is here by divine design. Now, whether you are here because of someone or in spite of someone, it's irrelevant. You're here by divine design. So what I'm telling you is what I know. Because everybody comes into our lives for our growth, development, and unfoldment. And so what we need to have is unconditional support for each other. So when somebody shows up in your life, they are yours. You don't have to say, well, somebody else needs to deal with them because I can't deal with them. Because you know you go there. Don't play. You know you go there. They're here to build your spiritual muscles. I used to have somebody I worked with that was just a pain in the butt. And HR says, well, you know. I said, well, that's my spiritual practice. I'm good. You know, because what happens is they're building our loving muscles, right? And we get to look at those places where we're not willing to be loved. And we've got to be facing that in our meditation, in the mirror. After you've already loved yourself up a bunch, after you've already said, oh, boo, you sure look good today. You know you are fabulous. You know you're going out there and gift the world with something magnificent. You know you are talented and you are wise and you are fabulously skilled. After you say all of that to yourself, then say, you know what, God? We're in this together, and I've got unconditional support for everybody that you have crossing my path today. And so I'm not asking you to say it for the week or for the month, but just day by day. And that's how 12-step folks do it, one day at a time. And if you have an addiction to having an attitude, then that anonymous club of Attitudes Anonymous, then go ahead and declare that there is a power that is stronger than me and that I can lean into that. And it may mean that you may have to do some, not amendments, what's that called? Amends, thank you. You might have to do some amends. I got another kind of amendment on my mind. I'm going to talk about that in a minute. But the idea is to take care of yourself. And that doesn't come from a fear place. Taking care of yourself means love yourself the way that God loves you. Love yourself by taking care of yourself. You know, medically, you know, making sure that you take care of getting your meals, you know, staying clean, going to see whoever you need to see to support you, whether it's physical therapy, a dentist, an eye doctor, a medical doctor. Make sure that there is support that you're creating for yourself. And I'm going to speak to the women because you are most guilty of this. Stop putting everybody before you. Stop putting everybody else's needs before your needs. And anybody else who doesn't know enough to be able to put on your own oxygen mask before you go to help somebody else. See, because taking care of yourself comes when you are taking care of your big ass self. And your big ass self is your spirit. Well, how do you take care of your spirit? I thought spirit was taking care of me. Yeah, but you got to have a relationship with it. And the way that you have a relationship with spirit is through spiritual practices. So if you're jumping up out of the bed and the first thing that you're doing is going to social media, or if you're jumping up out of bed and the first thing you're doing is calling somebody, or if you're jumping out of bed and you haven't even anchored yourself in the awareness of who you are, if you haven't checked in with your source and found out what your day looks like, how it's going to unfold, if you haven't checked in with source and said, what am I? What am I? And really understand this question, because we were being with this in 4T the other night. So many of us are so concerned with who am I? Who you are is irrelevant. Your personality is not eternal. However you identify yourself, whether you call yourself a doctor or a postman or a nurse or a clergy, or whether you call yourself a financial statistician, or whether you call yourself whatever, baker, chief, cook, whatever, you know, that's not what you are. That's not what you are. That is an identity that you have adapted or adopted or accepted for this particular time. Perhaps you used to be something else. You're more than one thing in terms of what you do, but what you are doesn't change. You're an individualized expression of God. You're an emanation of the Most High. You're the way that God reveals itself in a special way that only you can. Nobody else can do you like you. You are perfect at being you. And as long as you allow the what you are to lead the who you are, then you are in alignment with your divine purpose. You are in alignment with all of life, because God knew what it was doing when it created everything that is. It knew what it was doing when it created you. There is absolutely nothing that is missing in this universe. Everything has been created for the purpose of all of our fulfillment. And so what I want you to do is to respect your individual self after you have respected your spiritual self. Your spiritual practices, meditation, spiritual mind treatment, visioning, forgiveness work, tithing, whatever it is that keeps you in the law of circulation, whatever it is to make sure that you're giving and receiving your talent, your time, your treasure. Make sure that you are giving something to life, because that's how God needs you to show up. In all that it is using us as its instruments. And so we have to know that God is going to take care of us because we are its agents, and we are here to fulfill its purpose in a way that only we can. You know, my relatedness to God alone will make it possible for me to stand anything that life can or may do to me. That's Howard Thurman. My relatedness to God alone will make it possible for me to stand anything that life may do to me. Do you understand that that is your support? Do you understand that that relationship that you have with God is everything that you need to stand anything that comes your way? Yes. I presume that's why you're here. Howard invites us to say this: give me the strength to be free. Now this seems absurd when you know with Ernest Holmes that, give me that Science of Mind magazine out of my bag, please, Reverend Anthony. When Ernest Holmes tells us that we were created out of freedom, that's not just to say, well, you know, that's something that sounds good. God itself is freedom, and we have free choice. And because we have free choice, that means that there is an opportunity for us on a moment-by-moment basis to choose any different direction. We can choose a direction that perhaps we didn't know we were going in, and all of a sudden, all of a sudden we wind up in a place that we weren't expecting to be at. Hello? Amen. I'm telling you what I know. I'm telling you what my experience is. In this awareness, Thurman says, it takes no strength to give up, to accept shackles of circumstance so that they become shackles of soul, to shrug the shoulders in bland acquiescence. You know, you may have wanted to give up at any given time. Is that not true for somebody here? Yeah. It takes strength to stay in the game. It takes no strength to give up. So, well, you know, whatever. I should have known that was going to happen in that impeachment trial. I know it was a shambles. You know, what can we do? You know, we're powerless. They got all the power. Nonsense. Poppycock. That's not what I really want to say. It begins with a B. But that's what 100 million people did in 2016 when it came time for elections. 100 million people stayed at home and did not go to the polls because they didn't think that they had the power to change anything. And what do we know as religious science? There is a cause that creates every effect, and that I can choose to say yes to whatever the direction is that I am being guided to in order for me to arrive at the destination that I want to reach. I think Michael said he was declaring a victory up in here today. I think you need to know what you're working with here. You're working with Mitch McConnell applying Southern justice. Y'all know what Southern justice is? I'm talking with my brother William Barber right in here. Southern justice was what Jim Crow looked like. Mitch McConnell brought it back. And so every cover-up in the history of this country has been based on somebody trying to keep somebody else down. Slavery was a bunch of crimes of human bondage. Jim Crow was immorality of separate but not equal. And it's only been moral movements who've been able to tap into a greater power. What is that greater power but God? So this greater power is asking us to know not only does the moral arc of the universe bend toward justice, but that we are bending with it because we are being willing to follow its divine guidance. Oh, you know, Donald Trump and Mitch McConnell, they came to expand us, don't you know? They came to remind us of our strength. They came to activate our creativity. They came to enable our spiritual power. So if you speak defeat and keep living in defeat and talking that narrative, defeat will be yours. Congratulations. Amen. What do I mean when I say rising together with love? Apparently, I was in alignment with this mission. Rise up, link up, organize, and put out the vote. It's not just about saying, you know, I am going to vote if I feel like it. I don't know who I'm going to vote for. I'll see how it goes when it comes up. None of that has to do with power. None of that has to do with divine guidance. God is not a flimsy God. God is a purposeful God. The reason that historically he has always been given the male pronoun is because God is focused. And the female energy being multitasking is another aspect of God. Y'all heard that in the Egyptian Roots of Science of Mind class. But God is focused on you and what it can do through you. So they were saying that 39 million people were in poverty or low wealth. And Barbara's people did all of the mathematics and all the statistics, and it's really 140 million people who are in poverty and low wealth. And they have had analysis of 16% are black, which is 26 million people. 30% of whites, which are 66 million people. And 62 million people are earning less than a living wage. So 60% black, poor, and low wealth, 64% Latino, poor, and low wealth, 40% Asian, poor, and low wealth, and 59% Native Americans, poor, and low wealth. So when I'm telling you that we are embracing diversity, we better. Amen. So get over whatever your isms are, get over whatever your biases are, get over whatever your bigotry is, get over whatever your separation is, because the only way that we are going to be able to be triumphant and living in absolute love is to start with each other. We've already talked about God and ourselves, but to respect yourself also means to respect that person that doesn't have the same skin color as you, that person that doesn't have the same language as you, that person that doesn't have the same ableism as you, that person that doesn't have the same hearing as you or sight as you. Whatever that is, you need to know that we are here together to rise together. We need to know this. We need to know what we know about the red states all of their voter suppressing, their racism, and their high poverty. They're denying health care, they're attacking Latinos, and they're denying a living wage. All of that we need to face, because unless we face it, nothing will change. According to Barber, it only takes 2 to 10% of the poor around this issue, and you can fundamentally shift every election in this country. 2 to 10%. So we put 53 cents of every dollar, of every discretionary dollar into military, and less than 15 cents into health care and education. $1 trillion a year. $1 trillion a year. What does that represent? That represents child poverty cost. If we took 2% of the federal budget, we could reduce child poverty costs by 60% and have an economic drive. We could put $328 billion back into the economy and raise minimum wage to $15. So there's a lot of things that can happen, but if we don't address this from a moral point of view, if we don't address this, we will never energize those 100 million people who stayed home. If we don't stand together, 140 million poor people never hear their issues addressed. Everybody's talking to the middle class. Everybody's talking to the wealthy. Nobody is addressing poverty. It hasn't been addressed since I was a child, when King was doing it. You know, a war on poverty hasn't been talked about for decades, a lifetime for some people. Probably the lifetime of Kobe Bryant. And so clergy has to realize, particularly with communities that are predominantly black, that we are abdicating our reason for existence unless we are willing to be a part of shifting the moral direction of this country. So all of the black people and the poor white people that have walked away from the ballot box because they didn't think it would make a difference, it's because nobody has been concerned or discussing the particular things that are of concern to these people. So I want you to know that historically, this is what we need to look at. I want you to know that Andrew Jackson, remember him? He was a president. I mean, not Andrew Jackson. Johnson. Not LBJ Johnson. What's his name? Andrew Johnson. Thank you. I was mixing up my Andrews. So, going back to Reconstruction, Johnson had been impeached, and he got off on his trial by 1 vote. Know what they did? They used that impeachment trial as an impetus. 1 vote and he would have been removed from office. But he made promises to the racist slaveholders, and he told them that if they voted in his favor, that he would reduce help to the former slaves. So he had the racist slaveholders get him off the hook because he had an abuse of power. This is 1867, okay? Now, abuse of power has always worked to undermine the work of Reconstruction. Now, you know, Reconstruction, black people and white people, they were getting along just fine. Everybody was helping each other. Everybody was looking at each other as equals. There wasn't any problem until this Southern, what did I call it? Justice. Till this Southern justice took over. So he was flagrantly defying Congress to undermine the rights of the former slaves. The Union soldiers were supposed to be there to reinforce Reconstruction. But he went past the Congress's direction for the Union soldiers to maintain Reconstruction. And so he called them off, right? So they not only weren't able to remove him in an election year, hello, they used that impeachment process to reclaim their authority. They used a legitimate impeachment to rally the electorate that fall. Understand that this is not new.
Amen.
Unless and until their Congress took over Reconstruction and reclaimed the moral and constitutional authority of the Congress to check his abuse of power and push forward a moral agenda and expanded access to health care and election voting rights in the South for poor blacks and white Americans, that's when Ulysses Grant got into office. So really understand that an impeachment that stands for what's right can be your power even if you don't find the person guilty. Starting to have a little bit more hope now. The rise of Southern strategy is about fear. Rutherford B. Hayes in 1877 did the same thing. Woodrow Wilson in 1917 did the same thing. Richard Nixon in 1968 did the same thing. Ronald Reagan in 1980 did the same thing. George W. Bush cheated in Florida, took us to war in 2000. Trump's Southern agenda is not new. It's tried and true. So what do we need to do but love each other? That's all this is calling for. You don't have to be nervous about whether or not we're getting too diverse. You need to celebrate how diverse we are, because in that is our power. And the more that we can absolutely be with each other and care about each other's needs, then we can mobilize in a way that will shift conditions, will shift effects. Because why? Because God said so. Ernest Holmes says, what is life in its broadest sense? It is the impartation of the Spirit in us, the source of everything we are or hope to be or have. And it gives in joy and without reservation, in complete abandonment. Life is a universal quality that is shared alike by all animate things, and in the human, it reaches its highest degree of expression. We have to look beyond humans as well. We have to look to see how we're ravishing our environment. And we have to know that you can't put religion in one category and environmentalism in another category. Creation story was all in one chapter. Because y'all ain't been hearing me. When I'm talking about recycling, when I'm talking about taking care of the planet, when I invite you into this and more people that are outside of this community than are inside of this community show up for information about environment, this is our lives that we're talking about. Let me tell you what Frederick Douglass did. This is Black History Month. Do what Frederick Douglass did in the Dred Scott decision. He said, if you allow it, the slaveholder intends to use every effort to hold on to power. Now, we may not be on plantations, but we are being enslaved. He said, if you allow it, the slaveholder intends to use every effort to hold on to power. They will engage in monstrous attempts that may seem overwhelming, but that's just one point of view. The abolitionists and black people, I guess they were Negroes then, I don't know, should meet this decision, monstrous as it appears, in a cheerful spirit. That's right, Attitude Anonymous. Don't get your jaws tight. In a cheerful. This is Frederick Douglass speaking. Y'all say y'all care about him, y'all respect him. He said this in 1870. Okay? He said, this attempt to blot out the hopes of an enslaved people may be a necessary link in the chain of events preparatory to the downfall and complete overthrow of the whole system. I'm going to say that again. This attempt to blot out the hopes of an enslaved people may be a necessary link in the chain of events preparatory to the downfall and overthrow of the whole system. Right? What man meant for evil, God means for good. So all that they're doing on all of this chain of events is perpetuating their own demise. He says the whole history of the anti-slavery movement is studied with proof that all measures devised and executed with a view to diminish the anti-slavery agitation has only served to increase, intensify, and embolden that agitation. Let's say it. Increase, intensify, and embolden that agitation. Now, agitation doesn't just mean I'm mad, I'm pissed off, whatever that pissosity may be. It means to use that energy to come together in a way that is forcing a new energy. And that doesn't mean with anger. That means with intention. That means with focus. So, William Barber said, if anybody fights you this hard, you must be powerful. Just saying. So all I know is when I was growing up, there was a lot of people that were talking about they wanted to be free. And nobody talking about that now. When I was growing up, when I was born, I think Rosa Parks had just did the bus thing like a couple of years before. So when I was growing up as a child, and I didn't realize that, when I was being called a nigger at 8 years old, that was part of a whole system that was set up to diminish my confidence. And I didn't realize that there was something that was already being emboldened in me, but because I was already starting to write as a child. So I was knowing that there was a way, an outlet, an instrument for me to be able to be in touch. And at that time I didn't know it was spirit, but I thought it was just creativity, which is the same as spirit. But see, we have to have that attitude now of freedom. We have to have an attitude that justice is our intention. Justice is a spiritual quality. This is not a man-made thing. This is intrinsic to life. And so if we love God, then we love justice. Yes? So Ernest Holmes says, we might say, every one of us has a divine spark, and that we are an incarnation of a divine spark. We might say this spark appears to have different degrees of expression. It makes the grass grow, the birds sing. It is the genius in the artist, the dance of the dancer. So knowing all of that, there's a divine spark that is in each one of us that is seeking to be revealed. Since God is not divided, as much of God as I recognize, I can experience. So I want you to recognize the power of God in you. I want you to recognize the love of God in you. I want you to recognize the oneness of everyone and stop fearing and start fighting. And I don't mean fighting with anger. I mean absolutely being committed to absolutely embodying freedom, embodying justice. Because I know that all of those people that died, whether they died because they were being hunted down, hung from a tree, whether they were being bitten by dogs, or whether they were being beat down on the Edmund Pettus Bridge. I know all of those people that have been working for a greater freedom didn't do so that we could take it for granted. I know that as we're approaching the primaries in a couple of weeks, that we need to stay awake, and that we need not be afraid of some seeming power that is orchestrating while we're sitting around picking our nose talking about what they had done to us. And so what we have within us is a challenge. What we have facing us is a challenge to dig deeper into the love that we are, to dig deeper into the freedom that we have, to dig deeper into the creativity that we possess. And so when you are aware of who is doing that, and you don't have to be confused about who to vote for. I'm not going to tell you, I can't tell you that because that affects our nonprofit status. But I'm telling you how to think. I'm telling you how to think because you need to know who is going to be equipped with a moral responsibility. Because unless there's a moral responsibility where you're not willing to leave somebody behind, I don't care if it's the South or another race or sexuality or gender or whatever your phobias are, unless you can see that nobody is being left behind in that person's platform, then they are not the ones. So it only takes 13 states, and they're the southern states. 13 states. They can take over the Senate. They can take over this whole election. But we're not to be concerned about, those figures, those numbers. All we have to focus on is our justice, our freedom, and the love that is within us. King said the racist aristocracy fears the power of the civil rights movement, the anti-war movement, and the anti-poverty movement coming together. Well, we've all come to places that we're in this together, whether you be a refugee or whether you be somebody who is on aid or whether you be somebody who finds himself in a cage. We're all in this together. And so oneness is not just simply something that we talk about in religious science. It's now something that we need to embody and embrace because we needn't look to anybody else to do it. It is you, it is me, it is we. I invite you to embody and be emboldened by the power that is within you to free yourself, to free your mind, and your assets will follow. Namaste. Thank you. Thank you. Somebody's on the prayer box. I think that's James Glenn. Okay. As the prayer box comes forward, I invite the ministers and practitioners to stand with me as we go into a moment or two of prayer. God is love. God is peace. God is freedom. God is power. God is truth. God is the allness. It is the trees, whether they're standing up or across the road. God is the dog, whether it's howling or simply greeting you when it comes to the door. God is the finicky cat, and it is the grateful kangaroo. It is the absolute grateful koala. It is everything, everywhere present. How grateful I am to be one of these expressions of God and to know that I am not alone. For in my co-creation, I have absolutely manifested each one under the sound of my voice, each one who is watching this, whether it be in person or through live stream. And I'm knowing that each and every one of us is filled with the power of God, that each of us has been absolutely provided with all of its qualities, its wholeness, its perfection, its completeness. It has been our receiving of this divine kingdom, that we're heirs to it, that there's nothing and no one that can deny this truth, take it away from us. It is ours by birthright. And so I am knowing perfect peace, prosperity, ever expanding good. I know and accept peace for David Glover as he thinks about his beloved fiancée, Laverne Montgomery, around her kidney. So I am knowing that she is absolutely being able to accept the cleansing of her own kidney, and absolutely poised and open and available to a bonus kidney as well. So I'm knowing that everything in the universe is working together for our good, and so I'm accepting that everything around this situation occurs with the greatest of ease. I'm knowing that right where Kimberly Satterfield's son-in-law's father, Vincent, is, that what's happening with his kidneys is that he is realizing a new, a fresh, a vibrancy, an absolute revealing of wholeness, and no longer just existing. That there's something that is happening that is being resurged within him, absolutely revitalized and restored. I'm knowing that right where Val is, there's peace. Val Ramirez's partner, Aaron, that diagnosis of breast cancer. We're knowing that there isn't a prognosis, because God is just getting started in this program of absolutely revealing to her whatever she needs to release around any kind of eating away of anything, any kind of resentment, any kind of anger, any kind of frustration, any kind of frustration around nurturing, or anything that is absolutely keeping her from an awareness of the perfect flow, the divine flow of goodness. I'm knowing that there's peace for Jennifer Ware. She thinks about her friend Annie Davis, who's also diagnosed with breast cancer. I'm knowing for Annie a peace that passes understanding, and a willingness to let go and let God, and to be active in her power, in her truth, in her realization of all things possible. And I know absolute divine right action for Reverend Yolanda Simmons. I'm knowing prosperity is hers and everyone else that's in the 4T class, as well as everyone in this community. I'm knowing that we are not subject to the past, and that there is always something greater to be revealed, and we expect that calmly and firmly. In gratitude for everyone who has placed anything in this prayer box, I'm knowing peace where there is any kind of physical malady, peace where there is any kind of despair around curing or healing. For I know that it is God's business to reveal, and it is revealing itself through each and every one who has any kind of health concerns. I'm knowing that anyone who has placed anything in the prayer box around prosperity, that there is never a hiccup in the flow of God, that our yes to it is all that is needed to be able to be fulfilling our divine destiny, and to know that our willingness to give is enough for us to stay in the awareness of the perfect outpicturing, outworking of this universe in and as our lives. I'm knowing that for each one of our relationships, there's a way that we can absolutely release the ego and continue to surrender to a greater me, and to release any kind of tendency or need to correct anybody else, or to criticize anybody else, or judge anybody else. That's not God, that's ego. So we're knowing that something great is happening for each and every one of us, whether we are here today or not. And I'm knowing for each of us here present that we are realizing the abundant nature of the universe, that it continues to give of its love abundantly, its peace abundantly, its prosperity abundantly, its harmony abundantly. We give thanks for its true love, its rich love. We respect it. We honor it. We accept it. And together we say, and so it is. Amen. Thank you, James, for the prayer box. And as our ushers are preparing to come forward to support us with the offertory, our East Bay a cappella group are also preparing to support us in song.
Well, I woke up this morning, and I woke up on time, with eyes to see, ears to hear, tongue to talk, and legs to walk. You don't know how blessed you are, how blessed you are. You don't know, you don't know. You don't know, you don't know, you don't know how blessed you are, how blessed you are. I woke up this morning, and I woke up on time, with the eyes to see, the ears to hear, the lungs to talk, and legs to walk. You don't know how blessed you are, how blessed you are. You don't know, you don't know, you don't know, you don't know, you don't know how blessed you are, how blessed you are. You don't know, 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 you don't know how blessed you are, how blessed you are.
We are blessed with an abundance of talent. We are blessed with an abundance of goodness. And I'm so grateful to see that the basket is full with an abundance of prosperity. Yeah. I'm so grateful to know that we are givers. It is our nature. And that we continue to be in this flow of good, and God continues to reveal Himself as we allow it to. And we continue to pump the well and allow His goodness to keep flowing to us. We give thanks for the live streamers who have texted tithe and anyone else who has used the kiosk or online to be a part of the support of this divine idea that is the East Bay Church of Religious Science. In gratitude for it all, I release my word to law. Law being perfect, I know it is complete. I simply let it be. And so it is. So it is. Amen. Thank you, ushers, for your service. I think we have some children coming, huh? Hey, Stacy. Good, good. Tell us what's going on.
Beautiful outfit.
Thank you.
All right, on this step right here. Sorry. Come off the altar. Come down on the steps.
Hey, Solomon and Amanda. Hey, Divine.
Hey.
Hi, everybody.
Hi.
Hey. This is our wonderful youth group today. Marlo is going to read the affirmation. We were working on the stillness within today.
Is it?
Yeah. Okay. The greatest God and the innermost God are one God. Those who sense this inner God who have a personal relationship with it. We can find our own truth by listening to our intuition, this still small voice inside.
Yeah. Thank you. Oliver is going to share a little bit about what we did today with celebrating Valentine's Day and our discussion about oneness.
Yes, yes.
So basically, the string represents God, and these hearts represent us.
Yeah. Woohoo!
And if we could just stretch out our hands and send these children our love and our blessings with our hearts. We see you.
We see you.
We love you.
We love you.
We know who you are.
We know who you are.
And we have great expectations for your lives.
We have great expectations for you.
And so it is.
So it is. Thank you, Stacy. I love how perfect God is. God is the string, and each heart was a different color or in a different position. And to listen to that still small voice that is leading and guiding and directing us, that's what we're being called to do each and every day. I'm so grateful for the yes of each one of us who are not going to take anything laying down, but absolutely knowing that we are activated by this presence of love. Let's stand for our benediction. I'm not here next week. Reverend Anthony is going to be speaking. I'll be in Denver at our international headquarters convention. And so I'm inviting y'all to send light to the entire organization as we change leadership. And so together, I'm knowing that the presence of God as love is revealing itself as each and every one of us in this space, in each and every one of us everywhere, whether we be human, four-legged, three-legged, one-legged, whether we're crawling or swimming, that this thing called life is purposeful and purpose-filled and absolutely supplying us with everything necessary for our greatness to be revealed. In great gratitude for everyone who has participated in this service, from our audio video department to our pulpit assistant, the minister's assistant, those holding vigil, those on prayer box, or those who are holding the prayer room sacred and open and available to each practitioner, and for every person who wants to anchor this message in their lives. And so with great gratitude, I just release my word and I let it be, and so it is. So it is. Amen.
My partner told me you sound like Michelle Obama.
Well, we're both Chicago girls, so.
Okay, I said,
yeah, I've heard that.
Great